Hi, my name is Dan Zeilinger, and I have been a world-traveling full-time trad jazz musician for the past 40 years. Some of my most memorable performances were on the lawn of the Edinburgh Castle, at Imperial Palace in Japan, as well as TV shows and commercials across the world. I've met many people during my career and have spent many hours on stage and off with these musicians, talking about jazz, life, and more. Some are touring musicians, some are theme park warriors, and some are casual musicians who play on the weekends with friends. I think they all have stories worthy of a movie script, and through these interviews, I'll be sharing them with you. Hi there, this is Dan Zeilinger for Trad Jazz Today. My next guest is somebody who I've filled in for many a time over the Dixieland bands that we both play, and he's actually another one of these geniuses that seems to find their way into this style of music, and it still befuddles me quite often. Well, here's my guest Ray Cadd, and then I can go on a little bit. Hi, Ray.
Hi, everyone.
One of the common threads that I talk about in almost every video among these guys is high tech. It seems to be there's a lot of high tech guys involved with classic jazz.
Yeah.
Another one is, of course, trains.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of the guys that are in classic jazz. Speaking of which, I'm going to be interviewing, I don't know if you know Joe Jackson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm good friends with Joe.
Yeah. Because he used to come down and listen to Westy at Lunaria when I subbed for him.
Joe's a good guy.
And he actually married my son and his wife.
Oh, is that so?
So they're friends from APU, yeah. Anyway.
That's great.
But
Joe's a great guy.
Oh, yeah. But I find that with, and you know, not speaking lightly, I actually mean that the stuff that I've seen that you've done on your resume, although you're very secretive with your bio.
Okay.
Because I try to research all of my subjects online for quite a bit. For example,
well, you can ask what you want. So I mean,
good. Where were you
it's
born?
all good. Hang on a second. Let me turn this. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Where were you born?
Where was I born? And bear with me because I may adjust I'm still kind of trying to adjust your sound here.
Every time I put on a pair of pants, I have to adjust, so it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me a second while I was born in Pasadena, California, at St. Luke's Hospital.
So you claim a home in Pasadena?
Yeah. Yeah. Wacka, wacka, wacka.
Hey, I have them all. I listen to Fozzie Bear is my idol. You know.
Okay. Yeah, born in Pasadena, and I lived in Arcadia most of my life.
And still do, I believe.
Well, I ended up moving back there about 20 years ago, and for the time I was gone, I lived in San Gabriel, so I was right down the street.
That's not my fault.
Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought maybe I could try and blame you, but it's not going to work, is it? I primarily it's just because of my work and where I went to school and stuff. It was all right here, so it's like
sure.
Way it goes.
When did you start playing what? What were your first musical influences?
Okay, wow. And this, I have to tell you, I kind of stressed before this thing, so I made a bunch of notes and stuff.
You're welcome to. I'm telling my son to stop sending out the questionnaire because I really didn't mean it to be question answer type deal. No, I'm just saying that I'm looking for this to be conversational. What I miss the most about gigging is the interaction between musicians in the musicians' lounges or over a bowl of chili or whatever. And because we send out these questionnaires, I've had people fill them out and send them back. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we never get, it seems, and especially nowadays with, what's, the pandemic thing and, just the general marketplace out there, it's like we never get to see each other anymore. I don't think I've seen you in years.
Well, especially not tuba players.
Yeah.
There's only one of us to a band. Yeah. Usually, but you and I have been on stage at the same time.
We have, although the situation was a little different, but I think I was trying to play washboard or something.
You were playing washboard and jug, And I was playing string bass. So I'm not exactly sure how that all went, but
yeah, that was God, that was a long time ago too. And that was a fun gig, but it was a weird kind of one-off thing. And then
it was hilarious. I tell people the audience looked like
hell.
they just saw a Woody Allen movie. You know, they were.
Yeah. Well, I remember playing that festival because that was the festival where Dick Shushan got in a big fight with Conrad Janis over something, and they were shouting and swearing at each other. Anyway. So
Yeah, that was at the Holiday Inn right there in Buena Park.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Oh, is that where it was? Okay,
Yeah.
I kept thinking it was in Palm. Okay, then I'll forget.
No,
that.
it's okay. It's okay. I'm pretty sure that's the place it was. But
Yeah,
that jug band was just. Hal Grudy was playing banjo and guitar.
What the H? Yeah.
I know. And then you were playing jug, and we had. Oh, yeah. Keith Elliott was on that band too.
Keith was there, yeah, and I think Ted Thomas was on that too. Maybe.
I don't remember Ted. I have a picture of that gig.
Wow.
In my archives, but
wow, and you haven't burned it yet. Huh?
No. In fact, you were wearing a miner's cap on that one.
Yeah, I remember that. I did the coal miner thing. I don't know. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but that was fun.
Tuba players like us very seldom get a chance to know each other.
Yeah. But and that's totally true. You were asking about musical influences, and I started to tell you I was making all these notes, and I finally said, "The hell with the notes! I'm just going to wing it because I think we're going to get, from my end, we're going to get a better response without me trying to look things up and all this stuff." So I don't, the first thing I remember was, my mom forced us to listen to classical music and to read.
Were your parents musical?
Not really at all. My mom had some artistic capability, that she just, because of the time and the place and stuff, she just never really followed up with that. But as a young child, she used to play, she played classical music all day, and, like Frederick Chopin and, this is why I did write notes. Because
it's really not that important, but as far as your influence is concerned.
But that was I think that's part of what kind of got me on that path. Now, years later, when I was in grade school, fifth grade, I think, I took, because they offered band, music lessons at school, and so I picked up a trumpet. And I took it for about a year, and I just did, I didn't have the structure or the discipline to follow through with it. I did it because I liked the way it looked, so. Oh,
I understand.
And I had I couldn't get a note. It was very frustrating for me. And so from there to middle school, I thought I'd give band a try again. And there was a local music shop in Arcadia called Arcadia Music Mart, and they had an old sousaphone up on the shelf. This is back kind of in the old days when they actually had real instruments hanging in there and stuff. And there's this old sousaphone up there, and I'm thinking, it's kind of like the trumpet. He's like, that looks really, the trumpet looked okay, but the sousaphone looked bitching, and I'm like, that is what I want to play. Now, if you're in school band, usually they have to force kids to play the tuba, So I actually wanted to do that. And I picked that up in seventh grade. That was 1971 maybe. And then I just kind of followed through with it, and I played it for years. Now, the sidebar to this, my grandparents, we'd get parked at my grandparents' house if my parents wanted to go out at night or something. They had a bunch of old 78s. They had these Good Time Jazz 78s, this band called the Firehouse Five. Okay, so this is where it starts to go in the direction that we're kind of
into the dark side. Yes,
the dark side. Yeah. And I used to dig this stuff, and this was like 1960 something or something.
It wasn't cool with your peers.
And, oh, well, kids that look at you cross-eyed. But, the whole, social upheaval of the 60s was just kind of starting then and stuff, but it hadn't really locked in, and we were pretty young. And I love this. It's like, this is great. It's all like joyous, happy music, Well, it also happened that the leader of that band lived in San Gabriel, okay? Ward Kimball. And he was, if you know anything about Disney history, he was what they call one of the 9 old men.
Yes. Him and Frank Thomas and
Frank and Ollie Johnston and all, those guys, And they were kind of like the original core group of animators from back in the old days. Well, Ward had a train in his backyard. Ward was a really interesting character. And I could tell you a lot. I've got some other stories, but I'm not going to.
That's what we're here for.
Well, I don't know if they're suitable for here. But, and now parallel to all this, I also like trains because, like, I'm a weirdo, okay? And I had, ancestors, great uncles and stuff who all worked for the railroad. They'd all worked for Santa Fe out of the San Bernardino area back in the steam engine era. So I kind of, all this thing kind of like resonated with me, and the whole, Disney and the cartoons and the trains and the music.
Was it true that Walt actually put a train in the park because he was jealous of Ward's train?
Well, that's one theory, and I think there may be, I'm not quite sure that's 100% true, but I think that there was definitely an influence there.
I was just wondering, I just had heard that.
Yeah, well, we used to go over, and back in the old days, Ward was in the phone book. So my mom would call, and we'd go over in the afternoon and look at the train, and subsequently I got invited over a couple times when they steamed the engine up and stuff. And me and a friend of mine, Carl Hovenitz, got to fire on one of the engines once, and it was just like, this is like great. So, okay. So anyway, but back to the music, that's kind of what got me interested in, Dixieland, traditional jazz. And I always thought, God, this would be so fun to play this. I've got this big giant horn, So everybody knows the rhythm section's the really important part of the band.
Oh.
Of course, duh, right? Yeah.
Of course, the general public doesn't know that, but
no.
But we rhythm section players understand that we hold the keys.
That's why we get all the chicks. Yeah. So anyway, I used to put the records on. I used to play along with it. I did the marching band thing through the school, but it kind of, it just didn't really catch with me. And about the time
I'm sorry, wait a minute. Where did you go to high school?
I went to Arcadia High.
Okay. Big marching program. Still.
Class of 75. Yeah. And in fact, one of my friends from the marching band later became a band director there, Tom Forbes. Uh-huh. And I think Tom's retired now. I think he retired a couple of years ago. But they always had a good marching band there. But it was about 1973, 74 by now. I was more interested in having long hair and chicks and partying and stuff like that. So
that doesn't interest you now, I know.
Yeah. Thank God I got over that. But I kind of, so I didn't really continue past junior year with the band program, but I always continued with my interest in traditional jazz. Okay. I used to, put the records on, play along with them. I learned all the Firehouse 5 tunes, like what else is there now? Well, as I kept digging deeper, you start learning about, there's a lot more to this, I started learning about McKinney's Cotton Pickers, Benny Moten and his orchestra and stuff, some of the early big band stuff, who, early on were still using tuba. Yeah. Because the tuba would cut through in the recording studio back in the old days.
As you know, and maybe some of our listeners don't know, so pardon me for interjecting here.
No,
but fine. Like people ask me, how come I use such old sousaphones?
Oh.
And I say, because in the day they were professional grade instruments.
Yeah.
They were
Yep.
made for these orchestras and big bands.
Yeah.
And it's quite often you saw sousaphones in orchestra pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they, what? And so anyway.
Yeah. What year is yours? You
The
have
one I have now that I'm currently using is an old World War II horn.
Okay.
It's a king,
Cool.
but yeah. I play both Khans and kings through my and I try not to play anything else.
Yeah, I always kind of preferred kings for some reason. I don't know why, but sometimes you find an instrument or a brand or something, and it just fits better. And mine, I play, when I play, which is hardly ever anymore, but I play. I have a 1919 King sousaphone.
Ooh.
It's an old HN White, and it's 101 years old this year.
That's my father was a sousaphone player at the University of Nebraska.
Oh, really?
Never touched jazz, but he's the one who got me started playing trumpet actually.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
he used to say that was the exact tuba you just told me about. That was the exact brand and model that he played in Nebraska.
When I was in junior high, excuse me, here I'm reaching for water. When I was in junior high, I played an old Cleveland, which was sort of the downscale line of instrument.
The student model King, yeah.
The student model King. And at Foothills, they had this old Cleveland, the old orangey lacquer on it. It was so, and I swear, I still think that was the best horn, one of the best horns I ever played. And, and I've tried a lot of different ones.
So when was the first time you actually got to play some jazz?
You mean in a live setting in front of people? Okay, so around the 1980s, I started, I kind of, I don't know, I got antsy and I was like, playing with the records is great and stuff, but it's like you really got to play live, because I really think no matter what you're playing, at least for me, it's really all about performance and playing live in a live setting, So I started going to these jazz clubs, and I can't remember the one. It used to meet in Covina, but
that was the Society for the Preservation of Dixieland Band at the bowling alley, probably.
Yeah, it was somewhere out there.
Covina Bowl is where it was. It moved to Duarte just recently.
It's in Duarte now, right? Yeah. I started going in and sitting in with bands, and one thing kind of led to another, and I guess somebody saw something in me, so they said, "Hey, you want to come out and play a gig?" I think it was Phil Andreen, as a matter of fact.
Well, he's also an Arcadian, so.
Yes, yeah. I've worked with Phil a number of times over the years, and from there, I just you play live, you get heard, you get seen, and this whole thing just kind of somehow just sort of blossomed in some manner for me, and I was actually able to play with a number of different bands over the years, and a lot of good players.
Oh yeah.
That's as a sidebar. I have to tell you, I'm not a very technical player. I don't have a lot of. I've kind of got a ninth grade music education.
Well, I gotta tell you, Ray, that the people that you have played with and do play with think the world of your playing. I mean, I play with Robbie Rhodes quite often right now, and he's constantly saying to me, which is a compliment, that I'm one of the few people next to you who actually get what I'm doing, understand what I'm doing. And he says, Dan, other than Ray, man, you certainly you understand the concepts.
Well, thanks. I was lucky in that respect. I've got relative pitch, and I've got a pretty good ear, and I can hear the chords, I can hear all the notes. I know where what you go to the fifth or the seventh or whatever it is to push everybody into a change of key or whatever it is. I've always had a very good ear for that. Not a lot of technical skill, but it's just about just providing the basics there.
I found out, and you probably know this about me because we travel in kind of the same circles, that a lot of people wish I had less technical skill. So.
Oh, I don't know. I've always admired your technical skill.
I'm just saying, honestly,
God,
a lot of tuba players who want to be soloists all the time, and that was me included, up until maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, just forget what they're there for.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing.
And you've been stellar at giving the frontline players and the rest of the rhythm section what they need.
Well, people have been very forgiving with me, but my whole thing was always just trying to kind of provide just the foundation and what I felt needed to be there, and a lot of it, stuff I heard, sort of gained by listening to the early recordings and so forth, as well as a lot of coaching from a lot of good musicians. I've always been very lucky in that sense that I've always been able to somehow surround myself with people who are better than me. And I've found that brings you along really fast,
By the way, this channel is called Trad Jazz Today, not because I want to talk about trad jazz all the time.
Yeah.
I use it because the logo looks good. I thought I did a good job with that logo.
Yeah.
That was mine. And
wow.
And the fact that it's kind of politically incorrect to say Dixieland anymore.
Yeah, there was kind of it kind of became, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it was sort of looked down upon, I think, for a long time there by certain circles, the very hardcore traditionalists and stuff.
Yeah, but you probably don't know that I actually played bass in a Beach Boys band, and I played trumpet, high salsa trumpet in a Latin band all the way up through college.
Okay,
and
cool.
So I'm not, what I'm saying is I see your instruments hanging on the back wall there. And
there's about 5 more.
A, I'm envious.
Yeah. Well.
And B, one of the reasons I play the way I play is because I think in string-based lines and not in tuba lines.
Yeah. And I've kind of gotten more in that direction now. I have to tell you, parallel to all this jazz, traditional jazz is not my only interest in music. I'm a hardcore rock and roll fan, and I have been since way back, And when I was all through high school, college, we used to, we were kind of there in the golden age, when bands like The Who and
ELO. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer at the Long Beach Civic Auditorium, Roxy Music, David Bowie, all this stuff.
Parsons Project.
Yeah, we used to go every weekend. We'd go down to the Strip, and that's a whole nother hour or two discussion about that. The stories.
What's funny is the energy isn't that different.
And it's really not, people think it's like, and it's like, no, you don't get it, because it's really kind of all interconnected. It all works the same way. The chords work the same way. The rules kind of work the same way. My thing was and this is more recently because there's no opportunities to play Dixieland anymore, or there are very few. And I got to the point where I wasn't ready to give up music, but I've got to reinvent myself somehow. So I picked up the bass guitar, and I've been playing for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a very technical player, but I'm able, I got good enough that people put up with me. So
it's I used to do quite a few jazz clinics for the high school and college age guys. And my opening statement was a bunch of teenagers got together, found the loudest instruments they could buy, and sang sexually charged lyrics that would piss off their parents.
Yeah.
Can anybody in this room tell me what style of music that is?
Yeah.
Rock and roll. I go, no, that's Dixieland.
Oh no. Yeah, you go listen to those old Ma Rainey recordings and stuff. Man, there's some triple X stuff going on in there.
Yep. and that's all that early jazz was.
Mm-hmm.
That era's rock and roll. It was the devil's music.
Yeah, it was the devil's music. That's right. That's exactly right. Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people don't really get that, but
the energy is very, very similar.
It's very similar. Yeah.
No, there's a lot more to you than music. of course, and jazz. And every interview that I've done with people who know you, which is most of the interviews I've done, by the way, they talk about what a wonderful and quick artist you are.
Oh, well,
Seriously.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, that's, what I pursued professionally. I was always, good with drawing pictures on napkins when I was a kid. And I ended up studying art in college. And specifically, I wanted to be an animator. But that's sort of, and this is a very long and complex story, that sort of didn't work out. I went to Pasadena City College, which had a good art program at the time. Maybe they still do. I'm kind of out of the loop on that anymore. After Pasadena, I went to Art Center College of Design, which is also in Pasadena. From there, I got a job working as a storyboard artist on a movie for the summer break, and it was just something that clicked with me. I kind of found I was competent at it, and I never went back to school. So I worked in film and advertising for, oh gosh, I don't know, I can't really do the math in my head, probably 20 years at least.
I can't remember my birthday without a calculator. It's okay.
Yeah, and the giant print too. That's the other thing.
I'm actually not kidding. I'm terrible.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I freelanced for that period of time, and it so happened I started picking up freelance work for Disney. Well, the long and short of it was I got offered a job as an Imagineer at Walt Disney Imagineering.
Right. That division was called WED originally, wasn't it?
It was originally called WED, yeah. And I ended up working in creative development for theme park attractions, which could be anything from rides to shop interiors to meet and greets to Star Wars to, whatever. So
you were in charge of the aesthetics.
Well, I'm in charge of, my thing is selling the ideas and getting the funding. That's
okay.
The one thing that I really specialize in.
Which you took out of your advertising experience.
Well, yeah. And, it's a lot like music with me. I'm not a great technical illustrator, but I know I'm very story driven, and I know how to get an idea or a story across in one or more drawings. So, and I that's actually, although we're all on hiatus right now with the pandemic, that's still where I'm working to this day. I've been at Imagineering for 13 years now.
It's interesting. Don't you feel that as you describe yourself as an artist, you're almost exactly as you are as a musician?
There are so many parallels, and I think about that a lot. I'm kind of like, what exactly are the parallels?
Well, you know how to put a story across. And
we know how to put a story.
And all artists are nothing more than storytellers.
Largely, that's it. I think that's about 99% of it right there. We all work, visual artists work with line, shape, composition, color, these things. Musicians work with composition, shape, tonal colors, things like that. I mean, there's really a lot of parallel, I think, that you can draw between the two. And if I had a dry erase board, I could probably list them, but I'm not going to right now.
My mother painted in oils, and my older brother is a graphic artist.
Oh, I didn't know.
He has a company called Those Designers in Signal Hill. And so
really?
They both had got that gene, and I got the music. So
okay. Oh, very cool. Very cool. That's great. Actually, it's funny. My brother is who's a high school teacher, but has also had a lot of artistic ability. He's actually a pretty good plein air painter. He's actually a better painter than I am. I am about the worst painter in the world.
Oh.
I don't have the patience for it,
Well,
or the discipline. So.
think of the painters that didn't have the most patience in the world. There are quite a few famous ones,
Well, yeah. A lot of them took some shortcuts too, But that's why they're worth more, You work hard or work smart, That's what I always say.
Well, but I know you don't sell it short, but when you speak of it, you sell yourself short on the ability to tell stories again. And the technique isn't as important as, I'm sorry. I teach high schools and private lessons and things. And I try to tell them that musicians tend to forget what they're doing. And musicians and artists are actually doctors of the soul, of the spirit. We lift the burdens from our listeners' shoulders and give them hope for the future. And they may not know it, but that's what our profession is,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I probably would have gone into music if I hadn't ended up in art, But I would have had to get some more technical skills.
Well, Ray, your art has made you a living. And I married a nurse. So it all works out in the end,
So far, so good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still looking forward to that trailer on the desert, Yeah. You think I'm kidding, right?
No, but speaking of tuba players and trailers on the desert, I'm going to be interviewing David Silverman in not too long.
Yeah. I
So,
haven't seen him in years.
Yeah. Of course, he's one of the producers of The Simpsons, but he also happens to be a sousaphone player who likes to go out to Burning Man every year.
Burning Man, yeah. Yeah. Peace.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, I know. I don't know David well, but we have actually he's a good friend of Keith Elliott's.
He actually used to come out and sub at Curly's, and whenever I can't make it. So yeah. So it's kind of cool. I think Katie got him on that or something, but
sure. Yeah, Katie worked with him with another.
Vaughn and the Villains.
But that's right. Exactly. Oh, cool stuff. Yeah. I assume Curly's is probably down for the count right now.
Not since March.
Yeah.
We've been doing a few social distance concerts, like I said, for the SPDJ, for the society.
Okay.
With CJ and those guys, but no, I haven't had a gig, a serious gig since all of this happened. Yeah,
that's all we're doing. With the rock band, we're doing these live streams on Facebook, and that's what everybody's doing. And everybody who can figure out the technology is going on, because that's the only place you can give it up.
Yep. But that still isn't even the same, obviously. A lot of fans don't realize how much of that interaction between musicians and between fans and musicians that is part of the equation.
Yeah, and the dancers. I mean, that's right up front, I think. At least for me, I always knew, or I think I knew, when people were dancing, it's like, okay, if you could get to that, if you could find the slot, hit the groove, because that's, the groove is what it's all about, If you get people out of their chairs dancing, it's like, my work here is done.
I told my high school students when I get to clinic jazz bands, if you don't see their butts moving, then you're not doing your job.
Yeah, because that's what that music's all about. It's all from the. I like to say it's all from the waist down. It might be from a little higher up, but yeah, you know what I'm saying.
There. Oh, it's good.
Yeah, that's
Can
like
I
rock
use
and roll.
that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please do. Feel free. But yeah, I mean that's really what it's all about. It's the same for jazz. It's the same for certainly traditional jazz.
As it is
Beat
for rock.
pop, I'm not so sure, but maybe it is. Rock and roll. That's what that's largely about too. So yeah.
Although you may not think so, but when I have to sub for you in bands, whether it be Titanic or one of these groups, those are pretty big shoes to fill, guy. And I am the guy that gets called when you can't make things, and I appreciate that because the money's always good, you know.
Yeah, yeah, don't spend it all in one place. Right?
Well, that's why I play tuba.
And honestly, I'm honored that you're able to do those. You know, it's a good band, it's a good group of guys, and they've all got a lot of credibility because, you know, when you start talking about the especially about the West Coast revival that took place in, you know, the 1940s up through whenever, maybe it's still going on, I don't know. Those were the guys that were there at ground zero, you know, and these were the guys that were with South Frisco, you know. Yeah. They were guys who played with Turk Murphy, Wally Rose, right. You know, all these, all that stuff that was kind of happening during that kind of weird revival period that took place.
Yeah, I don't know if you've had a chance to see the interviews that I've dropped on this channel yet, but I interviewed Dan Comins.
I did. I watched it the other day because I cheated. I was like, what's he going to hit me with?
Oh, no, that's not cheating.
So, yeah. But
at least you stay in the center frame, you know, as opposed to Dan, who sank down into his chair several times.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Wait a second. Okay. So anyway,
you know, that's what happens when you get musicians who aren't visually minded. But
I don't know.
You know, that's an accountant.
I've got this little monitor screen down here. I can see what I'm doing. Yeah. How's the light? Am I getting glare?
That's right. Makeup.
Yeah. No, and I love the show. I love what you're doing, man.
Oh,
you know, and I think it's great. You know, I mean, it's entertaining, and you know, it's great that somebody's getting these stories down while they can. You know, because you know, 20, 30 years from now, who knows? You know, I think there will still be people playing this, but you know, the world will have changed. And,
there are people in retrospect. I mean, I wish I could have gotten George to do one of these. I wish I could have gotten Westy on one of these.
Westy would have been,
You know, there's so many of the guys, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, that have meant so much to our style and to my career that we've lost. It's really, but that's life, you know. It is. We're all going to die eventually.
Yeah. Hopefully not too soon, but let's get to the end of the interview. So
not funny.
Yeah, did you see? Were you watching Dan's show the other day? You know, did you see what happened? He was there 1 minute, and then.
Now, from your perspective, it must really be kind of a pinch me moment that you're actually working for Disney.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is. You know, I mean, it was something I was always into that stuff growing up, and I always enjoyed it all my life. You know, but I think, you know, when I decided not to be an animator, it just kind of, the thought of working for the company just never really, you know, it just didn't occur to me until I got into this situation where we were, you know, designing story and space and things in 3D, and, you know, and it was like, this is like when my brother and I used to build the little popsicle stick forts in the backyard when I was a kid, and then we'd burn them down. So anyway.
Yeah, so, you led me right down that path and into the wall, and I appreciate it.
Great. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's been a great experience because, you know, there's a lot of tremendously talented people there, and there's been a lot of opportunity. I've got to go to a lot of places and see a lot of things I never would have otherwise. You know, I mean,
well, it's really funny. Not that I need to envy you about something else either, but I've had people, they've been trying to hire me at the park ever since I started playing. And I found out that every time my name came up, it got red flagged. But really? It wasn't because of me. It was because there was another tuba player who looked a lot like me that we don't need to mention, pissed somebody off. And when they went to the computer afterwards, somebody said, what was the name of that, you know, that dark-skinned, heavy-set tuba player?
But that's him. I just know it. Yeah.
And my flag got raised at Disney. And Ray Templin tried to hire me multiple of times, and Rusty Stiers and all those guys.
Yeah. Right.
And I've
Well,
always wanted to work for Disney. I love that. I love that company as somebody from the outside looking in. No, I've heard stories that might make me think differently if I ever got on the inside, but still, it's something that we all kind of, as kids, you think,
Oh yeah. I think in being here in Southern California, we all grew up with it pretty much because it was right here. So yeah, it's been a good ride. I'll have to say that. Like I said, I got to a lot of opportunity to do and see a lot of things I never would have. Hey, I got to go back of house, and see what's back there. I always wonder what's behind the hidden door.
What's Michael Eisner really like? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I never met him. He was gone by the time I hired on. But yeah, so it was a fun time. I know we had Don Rickles come in. I worked on the Midway Toy Story Midway Mania.
Okay.
When we put that in, it was called Paradise Pier at the time.
Yes.
And the queue line leading in, there's this giant audio animatronic Mr. Potato Head.
Right.
And Don Rickles had done the voice. Well, we had to record a new voiceover soundtrack. We couldn't just lift something out of the movie, that was specific to him talking to the people in the queue lines, stuff like that. So the fellow creative director I was working with was out front waiting because Don was supposed to arrive. His driver was supposed to deliver him like at 11 o'clock or something. And they've got a little recording studio over there. So I never, I was kind of like, I walked by the door. We saw kind of look out, see if he was pulling it. So I thought I'd just, conveniently run into him. Well, it didn't work out, but I told Kevin, it's like, hey, if you see him, ask Don if he's got that $20 he owes me. Anyway, yeah, so hopefully we'll get past all this stuff and,
it's inevitable. It looks like a really long tunnel right now, but
yeah.
But, I'm your eternal optimist, which is why I play Dixieland, of course.
Because it's
and I think that exactly. And I hope you find time to get back on your horn a little bit.
I'm sorry.
I was saying I hope you have a chance to get back to playing tuba every so often.
Yeah, it would be nice. It's an odd situation because with the lack of opportunities to play right now. It's just, and man, I mean, I could sit there and play arpeggios and scales all day.
Oh yeah.
Unless you have that live situation and you have other people and you have other things going on to push back against, for me, it's like, and I subsequently, I haven't picked it up since November. So we're waiting to see,
Well, that's why Dan Coleman keeps calling me for Titanic.
Yeah. Hey, wait a second. Yeah. We had not a lot, but a couple things, booked throughout the spring and summer, but that's all gone by the wayside, of course. And we're kind of waiting to see what happens with San Diego,
Yeah, really, I understand.
Yeah, and I haven't heard a thing. I keep I keep following it to see if there's been any announcement. But,
we'll see. I'm glad that they just haven't out and canceled it like they did the Rose Parade.
Yeah.
That was a real shock for us in the marching community still.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I kind of half figured that. Yeah, it's like I'm not quite sure how they're going to pull this off and be compliant and everything. And we actually have a friend who's on the involved. Let's just say that they're deeply involved, and we heard a few days before. It was probably, they were waiting on a final vote, but it was like, yeah.
Right.
So,
well, that's all right. This has really been great fun. I need to start closing up now in a minute, just because Dan Marcus is following for the next interview, and we scheduled this really tightly, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dan Marcus, that's another fellow. He probably doesn't remember me from way back.
Well, I'm sure he does.
Well, tell him hello. I remember when he played with Bert Barr up there at the Uptown for a number of years. I think it was Uptown.
Talented guy.
Yeah, he's a good player, you know.
Well, so I want to give you a chance here to plug anything you'd like to plug. Let people know where they can hear your music, if it's available online. And artwork, if you have artwork that's out in the ethos, where people can see that.
Yeah, artwork-wise, this is kind of the odd situation. We're working for Disney. We're not really allowed. I've got artwork like I've got a warehouse full, you know, but we're not allowed to show any to the pub unless it's released for public consumption.
I understand.
Because of the proprietary nature of the work. Music-wise, I've got two things I can share, both on Facebook and Instagram. Check out the Shag Party page on Facebook.
And what style is that?
We do, kind of an eclectic.
It sounds very Austin Powers-ish.
Yeah, that's sort of how it started. That was sort of the genesis of it. And we tend to do, it's classic rock, but it leans a little more heavy on the 80s kind of new wave. But we kind of reinterpret all this stuff, in our own way. The other page, also on Facebook and Instagram, is Smoking Zeros, which actually I'm on my way to a rehearsal tonight. We just did a live stream.
I saw that, yes.
Last weekend, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry if you did. I think I made dropped a few clams on that one, but at least our media is good,
Oh, hey, if it's fun and if you enjoy doing it, then people enjoy watching it and hearing it,
Well, we try to keep the energy up. This was kind of a first outing for that group, but I think all things considered, I think it came off. Well, I think it came off better than we thought at the time, and I would encourage people to check it out and, in fact, hire us for a lot of money.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So they can find contact information then on the website. Yeah,
I think either Steve or my emails are on there, or maybe Mark's, I'm not sure, but one of us, it'll filter down and get to us.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Ray, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
I'm a longtime fan of all of your work, not just your playing, but everything you've done, and the people who know and love you do nothing but speak your praises.
Well,
and that includes me, by the way. So I hope we get to do a jug band again soon someday.
Yeah, one of these years. Yeah. I think my chops aren't very good these days, so.
Well, get to practicing on that jug in your foot plate washboard there.
I will. Yeah.
All right, guy. It's great to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Dan. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll catch up again later.
Keep the faith.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for watching Trad Jazz Today with Dan Zeilinger. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Videos come out every Wednesday and Friday.